everyone knows the legend of Samson, the lion slayer and Philistine killer, the Nazarite judge whose strength was bound to his uncut hair. He was larger than life, chosen by God even before birth to deliver Israel from its oppressors. Children are told how he uprooted gates from their hinges, carrying them on his shoulders as if they weighed no more than a child's toy. They hear of the jawbone of a donkey, of how he mowed down 1,000 Philistines with it, as though it were a battle-hardened sword. But what is often missed in this classic retelling is the human heart behind the legend. Samson's physical power came with profound spiritual obligations. As a Nazarite, he was set apart, forbidden from drinking wine or strong drink, forbidden from cutting his hair, and forbidden from touching the dead. These rules were not mere customs. They were symbols of a holy relationship between God and a man destined for greatness. Over time, however, the boundaries of that relationship blurred. Samson was a whirlwind of passion, larger than life in both virtue and vice. He judged Israel, but he also stirred up trouble for them. He fought for his people, but he also lived on the fringes of their society. His name evoked both awe and fear. Even among his own kin, he was seen as something both divine and dangerous, a double-edged sword. Most know the story's climax. Delilah, with her cunning whispers, coaxed Samson into revealing the secret of his strength. In a moment of vulnerability, he told her about his hair. She shaved it, and the Philistines, long tormented by his might, captured him at last. But some wonder, did all his strength truly rest in those braids alone? Could one betrayal have undone the power of a man favored by God? The truth is more complex. The seeds of Samson's downfall were sown long before Delilah arrived on the scene. His hair was merely the last symbol of a vow that he had already fractured in secret. Before Delilah, and the night she lulled him to sleep on her lap, there was another night. It was a moment largely unrecorded, whispered about only in hidden circles, if spoken of at all. In this forgotten episode, Samson took his first fatal step away from the sacred path he was meant to follow. It happened after one of his greatest victories. The Philistines had come at him with their armies, determined to stop this unstoppable man. Yet, as always, the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson, and he struck them down by the hundreds, ultimately seizing a donkey's jawbone to finish the fight. By the time it was over, 1,000 Philistines lay dead, and Samson stood in the midst of the carnage, dripping with sweat and blood, his breath ragged from exertion. But as triumphant as the moment should have been, Samson felt emptier than ever. An eerie hush covered the land, broken only by the occasional groan of a dying soldier. The Israelites, who had once pinned their hopes on him, kept their distance. They had, after all, handed him over to the Philistines once before, roping him like an animal to be delivered to their enemies in exchange for peace. What did he owe these people who feared and misunderstood him? As dusk settled, Samson wandered away from the battlefield alone. His limbs felt like stone, weighed down by victory and the isolation that haunted his every step. Without conscious thought, his feet led him to the vineyards of Timnah, an area he knew he should avoid. For a Nazarite, even approaching such a place was toying with sin. The heady scent of grapes and fermented wine hung in the air, thick and seductive. The vow in his heart was clear: never taste wine, never partake of strong drink. Yet the thirst in his throat burned like fire. He could still hear the echo of the angel's words to his mother: "He shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb," a sacred reminder of who he was supposed to be. But as his hand found its way to a half-full wineskin, left by a careless traveller or perhaps abandoned by retreating soldiers, a darker voice whispered in his mind, "You are strong enough to break any law, even God's." He lifted the wineskin to his lips. In that moment, Samson crossed a line he could never uncross. Though many know the story of the lion Samson once tore apart near the vineyards, few realize that the beast had a mate. That first lion had attacked him in his youth, and he killed it effortlessly, later finding honey in its carcass. It became a riddle he posed to the Philistines at his wedding feast. But the real haunting memory was the night a second lion came seeking vengeance, or perhaps justice. That night, as Samson drained stolen wine under the moonlit sky, he found himself leaning against a twisted grapevine, his heart pounding with the guilt of broken vows. A low, feral growl rumbled from the darkness. Slowly, another lion appeared, a creature even larger and more imposing than the one he had slain before. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, seeming to pierce Samson's very soul. Any other man would have recoiled in terror. But Samson, emboldened by wine and arrogance, pushed himself away from the vine, rolling his shoulders as though eager to test his strength once more. He had, after all, just killed 1,000 armed warriors. What could a single beast do to him? He lunged at the lion. In his mind, he recalled the sensation of tearing the first lion's jaws apart like a brittle branch. But this time, the lion snarled and swiped with a massive paw, sending a searing pain across Samson's forearm. He staggered, nearly losing his balance. His body was slow, dulled by wine in a way he had never before experienced. Still, he roared back, furious that any creature dared to wound him. He grabbed at the lion's mane, attempting to wrest its jaws apart. The lion, however, refused to buckle. Its growl morphed into a strange rumble, words in a voice far older than any man's. "You have broken your vow, Nazarite." Samson's heart froze. He had witnessed the miraculous before, but never had he heard the voice of a beast uttering the oracles of men or gods. "You think your strength is yours? You think it cannot be taken?" Fear roared through Samson's veins, mingling with rage. This was impossible. He refused to believe that anything could stop him. With a burst of furious determination, he finally wrenched the lion's neck until it snapped, the massive body collapsing into the dirt. But even as life left the creature's eyes, that terrible voice echoed in the stillness. "You are already dead, Samson. You just don't know it yet."